Lola and I'm Director of Growth and Community Development. So my purview is basically trying to see how we can leverage this BizWorld relationship to build our partners on ground here in Nigeria and globally. So that's both on the educator side, see how we can get educators interested in using the platform, engaged with the platform, signed up for the platform, but also on parent side, trying to make sure parents know that we are a trusted provider of education resources for the institutions as well, trying to get schools not to see us as competitors, but as collaborators, trying to see us as partners. So really, that's what I'm responsible for, bringing Omalearn and now BizWorld to the Nigerian audience and hopefully West Africa and beyond as well.
Beautiful. Director of Growth and Community of Development. And then Omalearn versus MYLI. Tell me just what's the relationship there?
Omalearn is an initiative of MYLI Africa. So Ken talked about MYLI a little bit. MYLI's been around for a handful of years. Initially, I would say, they're both the brainchilds of Efosa and Kenoye, but MYLI's focus on entrepreneurship and capacity building was slightly older audience, still focused on youth empowerment. That's what it stands for, Metamorphosis Youth Leadership Institute. Got it out? So I'm still focused on youth, but it was slightly pitched at an older demographic, where Omalearn is a MYLI Africa initiative. So as we kind of worked in the development space, it became clear that the intervention needs to come younger. And we really kind of have to start with the primary level and eventually the education level. So MYLI is far more all-encompassing than Omalearn. Omalearn is a project, it's a platform, but MYLI does a lot more than what we're trying to do with Omalearn.
I think just to chip in would be, this is also with Omalearn, we're looking at the other side to, I would say, I don't want to use the word teaching because I'm about to say teachers, right? So to driving our programs in terms of entrepreneurship and delivering those courses, those trainings, those development programs, it's who are the facilitators. And again, like I started out by saying, well, we're Nigerians trying to solve our problems. So again, if you look at the human situation, employment, unemployment, what's the minimum wage? So there's all that bit. So you're trying to get this brilliant chap who could be a facilitator, but then they have basic life issues as well. There's frustration with work, with their regular job, for instance. And then they're also having some stints working, consulting for a few school owners and colleges, because, delivering those MYLI programs, those pretty much are the avenues we've done those from. So again, seeing the pain and being around actual teachers in the education space, but Omalearn, while looking at both sides rather than just the recipients, the future entrepreneurs or the existing entrepreneurs, to the people who are teachers. And that's why we have teacherpreneur, right? Because the teachers themselves need to have the entrepreneurial mindsets to even fit in with some of the programs or some of the ideas that we have. And then there's also the fact that this is extra income, right? But then also just seeing the fact that as we're trying to build a capacity in terms of entrepreneurship to young adults, let's say with MYLI, for instance, teachers themselves also need that capacity building as well. So again, we find ourselves at this nice intersect, and that's pretty much Omalearn. So it's a teacherpreneur bit to it, but what the teacherpreneurs are also able to go on and facilitate, teach, and connecting them with the regular academic curriculum, but also introducing them into entrepreneurship-based curriculums where, to tell a nice story, imagine a teacher who teaches maths, but it's a fantastic baker. Two different worlds, right? But if you just look at it from two angles, the extra income angle, but the fact that there's actually the place to actually teach baking to an entrepreneur, right? And then, but yeah, that teacher could just be wearing only the teacher hat and teaching maths, whereas they could actually wear the entrepreneurial hat as well. So that's, in a nutshell, Omalearn dives more into teacherpreneur as part of this, I won't say marketplace, but as part of the platform, and the other side being the very young adults all the way down to the 8-year-old kid who is still in elementary, primary education as well.
I'm with you. So Omalearn is that project, the platform that's helping both educators, right, as you're referring to these teacherpreneurs, and the students as well. Does Omalearn, where does that name come from? Does it stand for anything?
Realize that the word the first half of the word, you find that word in several different languages that are used in this part of the world. So it's also not just one word or one language, but it's it's in Igbo, so it's in a handful of different Nigerian languages, which we thought that was very appropriate. It was actually that first kind of had the aha moment with that. And then obviously the second half, learn, kind of just tells people what we do a little bit. We're in the education space and we want that to be clear, but we're we're very much an African-led, African-focused initiative.
Beautiful.
So Efosa can say it much, much better than I am. So it was his brainchild.
Perfect sense. And you said Oma is a word that's used in multiple Nigerian languages. Nice. I appreciate that. Lola, of course, you share that you're the Director of Growth and Community Development. Ken, tell us a little bit, what's your role with Omalearn and with MYLI?
Yes, pretty much wearing the tech hat. So CTO, co-founder, I'm primarily responsible for the tech. But with the way we've worked, it's always looking at the problem and really understanding the actual needs or before we begin to piece in the tech into it. That's my portfolio, I would say. It's the tech and making everything else happen, leveraging tech, both for the core products, again, but for everything else that we try to do, internal processes, marketing, social, whatever be the case, I'm the one sitting on top before both projects, both entities.
CTO, co-founder, but I said focused heavily on the tech, whether it's those internal processes, marketing, actually delivering the solutions that you guys are doing, really heavily focused on the tech side of things.
Yep.
Nice. Through MYLI, you're teaching entrepreneurship to young ones, but you're more inspiring them to go out and go make it happen for themselves instead of feeling they have to walk this path of getting a full-time job right after school. I think it's worldwide. I grew up primarily in the U.S., went to school in the U.S., but then been living back in South Africa for about 5 years. And it's such an issue where young people don't know what to do. It is this crossroads where typically they just follow the path of those before them that appears to be the easiest. They weren't really ever educated on making educated choices and decisions of the path to walk.
Yeah, was totally agree with everything you both said. I think in the Nigerian context, and it's also in the South African context, there's also the added dimension of job opportunity, right? So there is the usual angst that comes with, entering adulthood. What do I do? What opportunities are there? But the economic realities in Nigeria and countries like South Africa is there is not enough in the formalized employment sector for all the graduates that are coming through our education system. And just the numbers aren't there. And rather than approaching entrepreneurship as a fallback or as a default, or you have nothing else to do, so you got to do something, it's actually showing people that this is an approach you can take from the beginning. I think you probably said it best. You can only dream of doing what you've already seen happen before you, right? So trying to bring into the formalized sector, trying to formalize these informal networks that are already existing. Ken said the example of a maths teacher that also bakes. We see this time and time again in the education space. There are a lot of people who are qualified as teachers, qualified as educators, but the salaries are fairly modest. And just to make ends meet, they're raising chickens, they're selling eggs, they're baking, they're sewing, and they're doing this to make ends meet. They're not doing it from an entrepreneurial, I'm going to start a business mindset, but they're doing really well. And so it's formalizing these things that are already happening and are more likely to happen in the part of the world that we're from, right? So I think that's where organizations like Omalearn and with this partnership with BizWorld are key. There's no reason why in a school setting, Nigeria is a very academic place, right? So while your kids are learning maths, English, science, and studying these hard traditional subjects, bring in business acumen, bring in entrepreneurship skills, because in the world that we're heading into, they're all going to need them just as much as maths and spelling and, literature and all this other stuff.
And absolutely, probably more if you were to ask me. But those skills are becoming more and more important and will be the most important pieces there's not this mindset of like, you guys are already helping youth, but it's like, how can we catch them even earlier, right? Even earlier, before bad habits start to form, before your mindset starts to, I don't know, get
Yeah.
steered the wrong direction even, right? And it's,
I turned 36 this year, but I think I was 14, right? So here's someone who was oil and gas tech executive at a pretty young age, mingling with young teenagers. So the cool uncle, right? Who's in tech. And of course, so again, you had someone who you got along with and looked up to. But I think somewhere as we began to build some of these things and reflecting, and I do this myself as well. And I mean, this is pretty much also how he thinks a bit. So you're thinking, well, if this is what I want, and I can make a reference like he did to me, for instance, well, the follow-up question is, well, in quotes, how was I produced? Let's use this scenario. Well, it's how early, like it's college, like junior high school, basically, right? So your thinking starts to change, your aspirations begin to change, your mindsets, right? Earlier, and then you have less hurdles when you meet someone who's already in uni or who's about to graduate or who has already graduated and they've been job hunting for the past 2 years, for instance. So very different mindset from someone who, yes, still has the cushion of daddy's meal, a meal is guaranteed at the end of the day, right? So it's really one logical because these kids are learning stuff already. So the educational system doesn't start at 18 or 20, right? Again, because we're trying to deliver these programs. The easier route was where it was in a structured environment. So in a university or in a college, right? So again, if those platforms or those channels also exist even lower, further down, then hey, why not? And then you also have the added bonus of, in quotes, catching them young and getting them before it becomes becomes a much difficult task when their minds, their habits, their expectations are already pretty much
Calcified.
baked. Or they're already now in a 9 to 5 and they barely have the time to focus on their creativity is pretty much being messed up. Entrepreneurship, I mean, people would say is not something people may say it's not something you teach. You need to be born entrepreneur. Obviously, I mean, there are two sides to the same coin. So some people just need, especially when you add all the other African factors and challenges. So in some scenarios, I mean, it's like you're talking to a brick wall. And in some other scenarios, it's just inspiring them. And then in some other scenarios, these are people who already have business ideas, already doing stuff on summer or school holiday season. Again, social media has made it easy. These are kids who are selling stuff while they're in uni or even in high school. They have a Facebook page and they're selling stuff, right? But then again, now how about the fundamentals and the actual principles of entrepreneurship, building a business, finance, right? So that has always been the idea and the concept. You're addressing this stuff, you're making progress, but you can see if we caught this person 5 years earlier, 2 years earlier, 10 years earlier.
What you just said, I think, is also one of the really good. So Ephes is the one who brought the BizWorld partnership initially to me. He'd kind of been percolating it on it in the background, and we went back and forth because we're quite lean, as you can imagine, on ground here in MYLI and Omalearn. And Ken just kind of hit it on the head. I think, yes, to a large extent, the idea of that entrepreneurial spirit, there is something that's innate, and it's certain people are attracted to the hustle and bustle and the wild west nature a bit of trying to figure things out at the same time. But that's not to say these skills cannot be taught, right? You can teach someone financial forecasting, you can teach someone budgeting, and you can teach someone how to figure out unit costs. There's certain skills that we can instill in younger people. And also, I think the reason for me personally why I thought, okay, this opportunity with BizWorld we have to take advantage of is because you do have some traditional communities where they don't want their child going down that path because they see entrepreneurship as something, again, embedded in the informal sector. And they want their children to have certificates. They want their children to have professional degrees because of the certain stability that comes with those things in this part of the world. But once you bring on an organization like BizWorld, once you're able to say, okay, look, we're not just a group of Nigerians saying this. There's actually some big American brains and big American money, and there's BizWorld in Japan, and there's BizWorld in Taiwan, and there's BizWorld in the UAE, and we're actually keying into something that is established. We're keying into something that has been long running. We're keying into something that has the backing of one of the most successful business minds in the world. I think that goes a long way for us to actually be able to stand in front of parents and say, we know what we're trying to do, but it's not just us. Don't just take Kenoye, Fosa, and Lola for it. We have the backing of this organization that's been going for years or however long, that is based in California, and they see what we're doing and they want to be part of it. So I think for us, there's a lot of synergy and there's a lot of, I would say legitimacy that we know we have, but it helps us stand up straight knowing that we have these guys, you guys, behind us as well. Don't take our word for it. Take these guys.
That's wonderful to hear. And it makes me honestly so happy that, we can often take for granted that this is not even the accepted methodology. That's teaching business skills, entrepreneurial skills. Oftentimes we talk about, right, we're teaching life skills through these business programming, through entrepreneurship education. That's, in my mind, it's like such the obvious thing to do. But it can be tough to actually convince others that it is the correct path to walk. And so it's wonderful when I can hear perspective like what you just shared, Lola, that by having the backing of an organization like BizWorld, right, that has these different international chapters all over the world, right, that has huge entrepreneurs, big venture capitalists standing behind this methodology, this ethos of life skills, durable life skills that can be taught through entrepreneurship education. This is the future. And so it's just great to hear that, we can help you guys bring that credibility to educators, to parents, to everybody in your community. I'll be honest, I'll talk about this for a second. Yeah, wonderful. You guys are early on, right, with BizWorld. What do you think excites you the most about this partnership?
If I put them in two buckets, what Lola just mentioned would be one. Enough of what Lola just mentioned. You could have gold, but if someone has, like the darkest sun shades ever and they can't see nothing, right? Well, then your gold could as well be stoned. In Nigeria, Africa, you had a term packaging, right? So, some people just have that wall up. So how you come, and what Efosa was hinting to in terms of materials, we could sit and begin to build online courses, build materials, build. Could take forever, could take a fortune. And then all the other aspects to it as well, other perspectives, global perspectives. Something again has been there 30 years behind, right? So that's a huge one. The other one would be because let's initially look at both projects are Africa focused. But because we are from and launching and building from Nigeria, so there could be that Nigeria as a kind of like a pilot, but again, initial core focus in the core focus, right? Nigerians and Africans, again, are everywhere. The businesses, business concepts, business ideas, nothing. Well, you have a few clever inventions, but almost everything has been experienced in another market, so has been run or invented in somewhere else as well. So again, being able to have that global perspective, something built that has perspectives and tapping in from experiences beyond us, so we could attempt to, right? So there's that angle to it as well. And again, we, like Lola said, we're lean, but the opportunity in terms of the kind of impact and deserving impacts, because for the people who you're impacting and giving these opportunities to, is deserving on their own end. And if you come from that angle and you have that heart for them, it's a win for them. Then the question you're asking is, do I want to go alone and impact 0.1%, or do I want to have as many collaborations and gather enough people on the same mission to hopefully end up impacting and reaching way more. So again, it's a fact that if you look at the big picture, the impact, the reach is more, can be more. We can obviously do a lot more. And of course, on the other end is for the people who then go through here. I mean, looking at BizWorld, you have alumni, you have, again, imagine Efosa runs into a kid somewhere who says, I have this big idea and I'm going to go to Southeast Asia. He'll probably be like, oh, I know somebody there. Like, I'm a phone call away. Right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
in looking at the fact that possibly people who are on this program then get to have those other doors beyond the shores of Nigeria opened as well. So again, win for us, win for them in terms of access to a bigger sphere, a bigger circle of influence or circle of reach. And the core is what we can put forward to in the programs in terms of running the programs and having that.
Yeah, you
Nice.
said that really well. You might want to. I might need to switch seats with Ken, although I couldn't do half the things that he actually does. But that's completely spot on. It's the reach, to be honest. I just got looped into the monthly call with the other BizWorld global partners. I missed it today, so I wasn't able to join. But I'm looking forward to next week. I'm very eager, like you, Wayne. I grew up in the States, so I have one foot here. I have one foot in the States still. I see the problems in Nigeria, but I understand that we don't need to reinvent the wheel. Literally what Ken is saying. Like there are processes, there are things that have been developed that we can tap into that some might not work in our environment, some will. So for me, I'm actually quite keen to see what other development partners are doing globally. That's pretty crucial. Like we are a small organization, so there's not that much that we have access to beyond ourselves. So BizWorld literally opens the door for us. It opens the door when we're looking, trying to bring on additional funding. The minute you have a partner like BizWorld, it just increases your credibility, it increases your legitimacy. More doors will open once they know that we have an international partner on board. I'm very keen to see how BizWorld is implemented in economies that are already fully developed or far more developed than us. It's all
Right.
learnings. It's all learnings and it's exposure. And sure, the idea that, the educators that go through these programs, BizWorld is BizWorld, and we might be BizWorld Nigeria, but this is something that they themselves know, and it's skills that they will have that they can take forward no matter where they go. So, um, yeah, it was just a very good opportunity, and we're trying to hit the ground running with it. We've been shouting from the rooftops, trying to, just yesterday we had a call with a private school nearby that we're hoping we'll be able to partner with. But the reason the door was able to open is because the minute we said BizWorld Nigeria, the conversation changed. And even though we're doing it in, with the same curriculum, with curriculums that we have developed ourselves, we can't deny the fact that BizWorld is going to open doors for us. And hopefully we can do the same for BizWorld. 'Cause I know BizWorld isn't on the continent right now. So yeah, hopefully it's the start of a helpful, beneficial relationship for all of us.
Hugely helpful and beneficial for everybody. That's what we're the most excited about, right? It's humbling, honestly, to think that you all are saying, BizWorld is this amazing name that's helping to back you all, right? To help you with the reach, which is great because we feel the same way. It's like, here's an amazing organization out of Nigeria that wants to partner with BizWorld, that wants to help BizWorld expand our reach as well. So the feeling is just so mutual, and we're really excited, really excited. And however we can help to actually get the word out about MYLI, right, about Omalearn and in a partnership with BizWorld, like please share the roadmap. Let's work together really to reach as many people as we can. Do you all have any last thoughts, questions, anything to share? Like I think already I learned a lot of great stuff. Any last thoughts, before I let you all go on with your day?
Not really from my end, Evelyn. I think as time goes on, undoubtedly questions will come, but I'm still trying to
Of course.
completely familiarize myself and, get into the nitty gritty of it. But certainly after our call on Friday, I imagine my notebook will be full of questions.
It was a good conversation, Wayne, and I think I'm happy we have some like you as well. Multiple conversations happening in parallel, but I mean, for you reaching out and us having this conversation at this unit or level, I'm excited at what's to come and how I think we can really drive this. Africa is big, Nigeria is huge. And I mean, it's like I said, it's having the right people working together, and then hopefully, certainly, we should be able to have a much bigger impact as well. So yeah, that's it from my end. Thanks.
Good stuff. Yeah, appreciate it. Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much.